Think about the last time you spent money you couldn't afford. A dinner, a trip, a round of drinks at a bar where the cocktails cost $20 and nobody at the table even hesitated. Now stop and think about who was sitting across from you. Because the science of financial destruction has a name, and it doesn't live in your bank account. It lives in your contact list. Meet Mint. Mint operates in a brilliantly lit, visually flawless workspace. The environment is crisp, modern, and bathed in bright, shadowless, energizing light. He is an architect. He spends his days building automated AI wealth systems, analyzing high RPM niches, and structuring digital assets that reach a global audience. He understands the mechanics of leverage. He knows how to decouple his time from his income. But on a Friday night, Mint leaves his bright, highly optimized studio and goes to a restaurant to meet up with three friends he has known since high school. These friends are consumers. They sit at the table, and for 2 hours, Mint listens. Friend A complains about his boss, framing himself as a helpless victim of a corporate system. Friend B complains about the economy, insisting that it is impossible to build wealth in the current market. Friend C mocks a mutual acquaintance who recently started a business, laughing at the fact that it hasn't made $1 million in its first month. Mint doesn't agree with them. He nods politely. He doesn't adopt their mindset consciously. He thinks he is immune because he is an architect. But when Mint returns to his pristine, brilliantly lit workspace the next morning, something is wrong. He sits down at his massive 4K monitor. He opens his AI rendering tools. He looks at his high-converting funnels, but a subtle, invisible friction has infected his mind. When he goes to invest capital into scaling his distribution network, a sudden flash of doubt hits him. What if the economy really is crashing? When he starts writing a new script, a voice echoes in his head. What if people laugh at this? Mint's processing speed has dropped. His financial velocity has slowed down. He hasn't lost any intelligence, but his risk tolerance has been artificially suppressed. To understand why Mint's ambition was quietly hijacked over a simple dinner, we have to look at the data. We have to look at the terrifying reality of social contagion. Inside Mint's brain and your brain, there's a highly specialized network of cells called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons were discovered by neuroscientists in the 1990s. Their entire biological purpose is to observe the behavior, emotions, and reactions of the people around you, and instantly simulate those exact same states in your own mind. If you see someone smile genuinely, your mirror neurons fire, and you feel a microdose of happiness. If you see someone stub their toe, your mirror neurons fire, and you physically flinch. This is how human beings evolved to survive in tribes. We survived by synchronizing our brains with the group. But in the modern digital economy, this biological survival mechanism is a fatal flaw. When Mint sat at that table, his mirror neurons were firing thousands of times a minute. He was observing scarcity. He was observing pessimism. He was observing the fear of failure. Every time his friends complained about money, Mint's brain simulated the biological reality of being broke. You cannot outsmart your mirror neurons. If you spend enough time around people who view money as a scarce, terrifying resource that is impossible to acquire, your brain will physically rewire its neural pathways to match that reality. You will start seeing walls where you should be seeing doors. But the data goes much deeper than just mirror neurons. It isn't just about biology. It is about statistics. But here is the terrifying part. If your friend's friend, someone you have never even met, becomes obese, your chances still increase by 20%. And if your friend's friend's friend becomes obese, your chances increase by 10%. The exact same mathematical contagion applied to smoking. It applied to depression. And, crucially, it applied to happiness and success. Behaviors, mindsets, and outcomes ripple through social networks like a drop of ink in a glass of water, affecting people up to 3 degrees of separation away. Let's apply this data back to Mint. Mint is an architect trying to build automated AI wealth systems. But if he is hanging around friend A, who has a consumer mindset, Mint isn't just absorbing friend A's scarcity. Mint is statistically absorbing the scarcity of friend A's broke coworkers. He is absorbing the pessimism of friend A's cynical family members. By allowing a consumer into his inner circle, Mint has accidentally plugged his own highly optimized, brilliantly lit digital network directly into a massive global grid of financial despair. The global economy is cleanly divided into two paradigms. The broke mindset operates on the paradigm of protection and complaint. Consumers focus entirely on what they cannot control. They talk about people. They talk about the news. They talk about how the system is rigged against them. Their entire mental processing power is dedicated to justifying why they haven't won the game. The wealth mindset operates on the paradigm of systems and leverage. Architects do not talk about people. They talk about data. They talk about high RPM niches, automation tools, temporal disconnects, and distribution algorithms. When an architect loses money, they do not complain. They analyze the system, patch the glitch, and deploy a new asset. Mint realizes that he cannot operate an architect's empire on a consumer's social operating system. He has spent months aggressively engineering his environment. He removed dark themes. He optimized his lighting. But he left his front door wide open to human algorithms. If Mint wants to achieve absolute financial velocity, he has to institute a new architecture of friction. He has to violently curate his proximity. Curating your circle does not mean you have to be cruel. It does not mean you dramatically text your childhood friends and tell them they are dead to you. It means you introduce the exact same concept of friction that Mint used to fix his Apple Pay dopamine loop. You become selectively inaccessible. Here is the exact three-step protocol Mint uses to purge the contagion of the broke mindset and aggressively defend his mental architecture. Step 1. The social audit Mint sits at his spotless white desk. He pulls up a blank digital document on his massive monitor. He writes down the names of the 5 people he communicates with the most. Underneath each name, he asks himself one brutal objective question. After I interact with this person, do I feel a surge of energy and ambition, or do I feel drained, cynical, and cautious? He looks at the data. He realizes that interacting with his consumer friends acts exactly like a hidden monthly subscription fee. But instead of siphoning his capital via autopay, they are silently siphoning his momentum. Mint immediately introduces a wall of friction. He doesn't cut them off entirely, but he reduces his exposure by 80%. When they invite him to a Friday night dinner to complain about the economy, Mint is busy. He is working on a system. He physically removes himself from the blast radius of their mirror neurons. Step 2. The digital mastermind Mint understands that nature abhors a vacuum. If he removes the consumers, he has to replace them with architects. But what if you live in a town where there are no architects? What if you are the only person in your physical radius who understands AI wealth, high RPM channels, and automated leverage? Mint uses the greatest tool of the modern era, the digital override. The brain's mirror neurons cannot easily distinguish between a physical human being and a high-fidelity digital presence. Mint leverages this biological loophole. He fills his perfectly lit, visually bright workspace with the voices of global architects. He listens to long-form interviews of digital entrepreneurs while he works. He joins highly curated premium online communities of builders operating in his exact niche. He intentionally subjects his mirror neurons to a relentless high-velocity stream of success, systemic thinking, and extreme ownership. Slowly, his brain begins to synchronize with the new network. His baseline level of ambition skyrockets. His risk tolerance expands. To Mint's biological hardware, it feels as though he is physically sitting in a room with the most successful builders on the planet. Step 3. the law of value exchange. As Mint's automated systems scale, his revenue explodes. His digital products are converting. His global audience is growing. He inevitably begins to attract the attention of other high-level architects in the real world. But Mint knows the ultimate rule of high net worth proximity. You cannot enter an architect's room with your hand out. You cannot be a consumer of their knowledge. When Mint finally sits down at a table with individuals who are steps ahead of him, he does not complain. He does not ask for free mentorship. He brings value. He shares data on a new algorithmic trend he discovered. He introduces a highly efficient AI script writing prompt he developed. He understands that wealth circles are built on the frictionless exchange of high-leverage information. 6 months later, Mint is sitting in his brilliantly lit, visually stunning workspace. The high-key lighting reflects off his flawless desk. His screens are glowing with upward trending, highly saturated green analytics. He is completely isolated from the contagion of scarcity. He looks at his phone. There are no text messages complaining about the economy. There are no group chats mocking ambition. Instead, there is a message from a fellow architect halfway across the world, sharing a breakthrough in a new automated funnel system. Mint smiles. He feels an immediate biological surge of energy. His mirror neurons fire, locking onto the ambition and success of his curated network. The data is undeniable. The Framingham study proved that your reality is shaped by the network you plug into. If you surround yourself with people who believe the game is rigged, your brain will force you to play like a loser. You will adopt their fear. You will download their excuses. But the moment you ruthlessly audit your proximity, the moment you cut the tethers to the consumer mindset and plug your brain into a network of architects, your entire biological operating system upgrades. You stop seeing the friction of the world and you start seeing the leverage. Your network is not just your net worth. Your network is your destiny. Audit your circle. Protect your code. Build the machine. I'll see you at the next level.